Good morning. Welcome to PwC webinar regarding the preferential origin of goods and our tool Customs Origin Tracker. My name is Marcin Majewski and I'm here with
Anna Bakara. Welcome.
Welcome. And there's just the two of us, although the tool has been built by three teams comprising of customs experts, including myself, and Anya representing IT-based consulting, and as well the SAP team has been involved. So there has been a few dozens of people actually involved in building the tool, which we believe is very comprehensive and full of very new solutions, which we will try to describe during the webinar today. The agenda for today is that we will first discuss the aspect of preferential origin of goods, so that will be mainly me speaking, and trying to explain the basics of preferential origin, what's the purpose, what are the business benefits arising from that. Further, we will have a short break to present a video regarding the tool that will, I hope, summarize the informations we present. And then we will switch to the second part and the main part of our webinar, where we'll present the tool itself. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
So the first part is regarding the preferential origin of goods. You see, in the last few weeks, the European Commission has published a report regarding the trade of goods in the calendar year 2021. What is on top of this report is important to say that for the first time in history, the EU trade with the rest of the world has exceeded 1 trillion euro. So that's an enormous amount of money in import and export. But the second important part of that is that as much as 44% of that trade has been based on preferential rules of origin. That's very important. That's already a lot. And the European Commission is anticipating that in the years to come, this should grow to over 47% and should grow even further if we compare 2020 to 2021, showing that the preferential trade is growing faster than the non-preferential trade with the rest of the world. And that, of course, includes countries where we have new trade agreements, and that includes the UK or the refreshed free trade agreement with Mexico, or the long-lasting agreement with Korea, or the most recent Japan, Vietnam, or Singapore, and Australia and New Zealand coming to life. So that aspect should be growing. And yes, it is around 1 trillion euro. But why is that so important? As you may know, there are three pillars in customs regulations that the customs law is based on and around, and the customs duty is calculated based on those three aspects. The first one is the classification of goods, which is also impacting other aspects of trade, including excise tax or CBAM, or many other regulations as well. There is also customs valuation, reaching to as far as transfer pricing adjustments and other aspects. And the third one is the origin of goods. And this is the topic of our webinar today. So that is very, very important, because it's not what we commonly understand the origin as the expression on many items, presumably saying made in China. That's very common what we see, but that's not the made in regulation. The aspect of customs origin of goods is referring to customs understanding and the rules based on customs regulations and free trade agreements, showing what is the origin, that there can only be one country of origin, and that the origin is changing if we change the goods. But the calculation of that is somewhat complex, and we'll try to describe this later during the webinar today. So when do we pay the customs duties? It's in the trade of goods, whenever in import or export of goods, the goods are crossing the external border of the European Union. So when we are trading between Poland and Germany, there are no customs duties. Obviously, when we are trading between the EU and China, yes, there are customs duties. In foreseeable future, there will be customs duties, as there is no expectation for coming soon trade agreement between EU and China. However, when we look at another very important business partner for Poland or the entire EU, which is the UK, well, here we have a trade agreement, which means that we can make our trade, our exchange, preferential, which is very good, because that means that when we are trading with China, we always pay duties. When we are trading with the UK, if we can prove the origin, well, we can reduce the duties in most cases down to 0%, which is great, which brings great savings. But the examples of China and the UK are just, outstanding because these are our top trade partners. But when we look at the map of the globe, and this is a map based on the European Commission map of trade, well, you see the European Union, as we said, intra-EU, we are trading without customs duties. But then we have other countries. We have, as you can see on the map, we have the UK, we have Norway, we have Ukraine. We have those countries in the basin of the Mediterranean Sea or the Northern Sea. We have Canada or Japan or Korea, India. We have plenty of countries that we can trade with based on preferential trade thanks to origin. Which means that however you approach the other pillars of customs duties, which is the classification or the customs valuation, whatever is the outcome from those two, the origin can be your ace in this among those cards. This can single-handedly change your customs duties down to 0%, so it's extremely, extremely beneficial. And coming back to the example of Great Britain, as you know, in 2020, there was this decision regarding the UK leaving the EU, first case in history. And by the end of 2020, a free trade agreement has been concluded. And as of 1st of January 2021, so almost 24 months already, the UK is no longer part of EU. So we have to trade on general, other words, erga omnes, trade rules and customs duty rates. But there is this free trade agreement, which means that we can trade between the EU and Great Britain, the United Kingdom, with preferential rules of origin. If we can prove that the goods are originating from the EU or if the goods are originating from Great Britain, we can apply preferential, usually 0% customs duty rate. So another example, if we choose bicycles, then the customs duty rate is as much as 14%. So proving that the bicycles were produced in the meaning of customs regulations are preferential, and preferential from the UK or from Poland or from the EU in this exchange, this could reduce the duties from 14% to 0%. I have seen a number of commercial contracts between companies, and it's very seldom to see a rebate, a potential rebate as much as 14%. But here you can have a rebate of overall cost of your transaction from 14% to 0, which is great. That's a great saving. And here you could replace the bicycles with anything else. You can think of a TV, you can think of clothing, food, industrial products, pretty much everything. So whatever is your industry, whatever the goods that you're trading, you should try, look, and work around using the preferential trade and preferential rules.
Yes, but I can see that there are some specific elements that needs to be met in order to use this reduced tariff 0% rate. So I guess that this is not like, we just want to reduce the tariff and that's it. We need to have the documentation
That's right. Well, there's plenty of companies who believe so. I mean, who believe that we just declare that we want to use the 0% and it's fine and we can go ahead. I understand the approach and the need on the market to use the 0% rate. Well, as you said, Anya, that's not a correct approach just to go ahead. You need to do certain calculations based on evidence and have this evidence stored in appropriate way and your calculations stored in appropriate way for a few years further on, in order to be able to prove on the day of import or export and in the years to come for potential customs audit, you need to calculate this based on evidence and store this evidence. So it's extremely important not to be over optimistic.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not that easy. Okay.
It's not
yeah.
that easy. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's so as much as it's a huge potential benefit. It should be approached with care. So there are certain responsibilities and roles to be taken and risks associated with that. That we need to take into the picture of preferential origin. First of all, there is a time that we will spend on gathering the evidence, calculating, perhaps educating if we are not a customs expert, and usually time comes with cost. That may mean that you need to hire a consultant, hire a person, hire a specialist, consult with the authorities and the broker and your suppliers and your buyers. Consult with many parties in order to reach the conclusion whether your goods are preferential or not, whether you will pay 14% or 0%. So there is a time, there is effort, there is cost. There is further on also risk of error. We are all humans, and maybe me above others are making mistakes. So we should try to avoid that, because what happens if you, let's say you're not over enthusiastic and you do actually the calculations in the proper way, you store the evidence, but you make an error. What will happen? Well, unfortunately, if the authorities find out and prove it, then you will have to pay those duties along with interest and potential penalties. Well, that's risk reduced, but still. So there is all this time, cost, and effort, and still you can be. You need to take risks and human errors into account. If there is an error, then also your cooperation with your suppliers and your buyers can be hindered, and you can lose some of the business. But on the other hand, it's not me here today to persuade you not to follow this. Actually, I'm a great fan of free trade, and I'm a great fan of reducing the business costs. I believe this is the role that we should take, is to build the economy, grow the business. How you can grow? Well, there are legal acts and solutions and trade agreements, which exact purpose of existence is to help you develop your business, reduce your costs, just do it in a proper and safe manner.
Yeah. So there are just legal bases for usage of this kind of reduced tariffs. It's not like we're doing some tax optimization or something like that. We are just doing it by the law.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
So that's the legal regulations. It's not a PwC idea that we should be reducing the cost of trade. So there are risks and responsibilities. There is effort to be taken, and of course there can always be human errors. So what are the difficulties? Let's let's explore the negative scenarios. Well, first of all, if you want to take the advantage of preferential rates and make those big benefits, you need to do the calculations. So it takes some time. It's usually Excel files involved, people doing calculations. The more complex your finished goods are, the more calculation you need to do. At the same time, you need to understand the regulations, because I've also met clients who say, okay, I understand that, just I have to prove that in the value of my finished product, at least 50% must be of preferential origin, and then I'm fine. No, it's not that simple as well. Actually, various goods have different rules. Also, various trade agreements with various countries have different thresholds to be met. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes 50-50. Sometimes there is a threshold for flexibility. Sometimes it's 10%, sometimes it's 15%. So depending on the exact regulation, the goods that you're trading and territories that you're trading, the rules may be different, which multiplies the number of calculations which you need to make. All of that, of course, means a lot of work because you have to collect all of the evidence from your suppliers. You need to store them in an appropriate way. You need to do the calculations and then keep the evidence for a period of time. And to make it even more complex, we just said that various goods may have different rules. So if you have 200 models, that means you have to make 200 calculations. If you're trading with 10 countries, well, likely that's 200 multiply 10 countries. And I've met a number of companies who are doing these calculations. Some of them do it properly, but they do it maybe once per year. Well, that's not correct again. The reason for that is that, the business. The business is changing all the time. The prices are changing now even more rapidly than in the past years. The rates of exchange, they also change at least once per month. You're buying components in USD, in euro, various currencies. And all these calculations, they require you to calculate this into one currency and then bring up the result, which means that you should calculate this at least once per month, for all territories and for all of your goods, for all the models. That's a lot of calculations.
A lot of calculations, so a lot of risk of mistakes if you do it manually, I would say.
Yes, that is correct. So that means that you need to have the knowledge, you need to have the evidence, you need to do the calculations, you need to know where you need to be careful. Yeah. That's a lot of expertise that you need to have. But having said all of this, I'm really trying to encourage you to benefit from this. So we just said there are risks and there are efforts, but they are worth it. So imagine that you're trading goods worth 1 million zloty. Or 1 million euro, for instance, and it's either your annual trade or your monthly trade value. Look at the value of the goods. If it's 1 million euro per year, and if the duty rate is just the low 3%, that's already 30,000 that you can save per year or per month. That's a lot of money. But if you're trading with territories, or specifically your goods, as the bicycles example that we put, are as much as 14%, 15%, 20%, that may mean a lot more money. And as we said, there is nearly 100 of territories where you can trade without those duties. And all you need to do is to gather the evidence, do the calculations, and so on. But you can save really a lot of money. And that's what these regulations are for. And there is a lot of companies across the EU, as said at the first slide, as much as 44% of the trade is being traded in a preferential way. So don't be in the other 56% of traders. So that's a lot of money that can be saved. So I hope I rather encouraged you to benefit from that than focused on the risks. But that was the part regarding the rules and the benefits. So, but before we start discussing the tool, I know that we are here today to discuss the tool. There is a brief video that we want to present to you that will, I hope, summarize what I just said about the legal aspects, and will a little bit introduce the tool itself that we will present in just 1 minute. So the video for now. Thank you.
Customs origin of goods can bring you and your clients really significant savings. In some cases, that might be 5, 10, or as much as 60% of the goods value. But applying the benefit requires a lot of time and expertise to do the right calculations, yet despite all the efforts, that operation can still be associated with risk and errors. So how can you maximize benefits while minimizing risk and efforts? See Martin, who just started using PwC's tool named Customs Origin Tracker. Let's see how his company profits from this. Whenever physical goods cross one country's border, they must be presented to customs authorities where duties and taxes are collected. So whenever Martin made sales to his customers in the UK, the goods cross the EU-UK border and authorities collect the duties. A bicycle produced in the EU that Martin sold at £100 from the perspective of his client in London cost a £114 because of a 14% custom duty paid. Martin learned that there is a trade agreement between the EU and the UK that allows the use of 0% customs duty rate if companies can prove the goods meet certain rules. Great news, that is a good business opportunity. So what Martin needs to do? Well, he just needs to assure that calculation confirms that each single bicycle he ships to the UK meets a rule that at least 50% of the value is made of EU parts and EU labor. His company holds evidence of each part origin, for example, as a statement from a supplier. Store this evidence in an organized manner through at least 36 months. Do the math and make no error in that. Use proper currency exchange rate, and remember, these rates change at least once per month. Monitor validity dates, monitor currency exchange rates, costs, prices, do the math again. Keep a watchful eye on changes in the regulations, and a few other points to remember. Well, Martin was born to the different things in life, so he hired a customs specialist to his firm so that the specialist does the math and paperwork. But the specialist said this can't be done precisely because the company offers over 300 models and variants built of 8,000 parts from 40 suppliers and are sold to 12 other non-EU countries. That's dozens of Excel files to build and run, an impossible mission for a single specialist. The specialist offered he can calculate just a few key models for key markets, but that means only 10% of sales is safe to benefit, and all other sales either should not use the benefit or the company should falsify the statement. That's not the way. So Martin chose the PwC tool called Customs Origin Tracker. Now Martin and his specialists are both safe and compliant. The solution is built on 5 modules. The Knowledge module provides online trainings, manuals, direct access to the latest version of related regulations, and a few more. The database consists of rules to be met, updated currency exchange rates, and other essential elements. The communicator is connected directly to the SAP system of Martin's company, reaching for bill of material for each model, knowing the components used, prices, suppliers, etc. The archive is the part responsible for storage of origin evidence and calculations, including a communication mode to remind suppliers of declarations that are about to expire. Finally, the calculator being the heart of the solution that is automatically checking the result of origin calculation for any model in question at any time, always precise, accurate, efficient, and even providing alerts. Having the right solution in place, Martin has reached out to his client in London, offering that each of his bicycles will now come with documents proving preferential origin and allowing to pay 0 duties in the UK. The customer was impressed with how reliable the calculation was made by Martin and decided to make more business together. Finally, Martin decided to approach one by one all of his clients in various countries across the globe. For his company, this means at least 3 options that the benefit means either greater margin for Martin, lower cost for the client, splitting the benefit and making more business together. Use automation to be safe and compliant, be a good partner for your specialists, for the authorities, and finally, make more and better business with your clients. Consider PwC's Customs Origin Tracker.
Okay, I think we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope that the movie was good. And now we'd like to dive into our main topic of today's webinar, so our Customs Origin Tracker. Okay, so I hope that at least a part of our listeners heard of our PwC developed application Taxolite. Taxolite is mainly for automation, tax reconciliation, tax settlements, and safety reporting, so safety generating purposes. But considering all the challenges that are related to customs, we decided to extend our solution, and we introduced an additional module, customs origin tracker. And this module, its main scope is to calculate the origin of products. Okay, so right now I'd like to highlight two very important aspects of our solution. The first aspect, which was already mentioned by Marcin, is that our solution is developed and prepared by a team that consisted of experts from SAP, IT, and of course, customs. So thanks to this, that we had this kind of multi team. The merit part of the customs was translated into algorithm, which we used in our solution in order to automate the process of calculating the origin of products. So this is the first thing that I wanted to highlight. And the second aspect is that our solution is ready to be implemented in companies that use SAP system in its standard configuration for product registration. If you use SAP in its standard configuration, then the solution is ready to be installed in your company. However, not only SAP can be used as the main data source, because we are able to integrate with any other ERP system that is used by other companies. So when we look at this diagram, we can replace the first element, so the SAP system, with any other ERP system, like Oracle, for instance, and the solution will and we can take benefit from the solution, because the customs logic is implemented into Taxolite. So in the middle element of our diagram. All right. So now, in terms of some technical aspects of our solution, on the example of already built integration with SAP in its standard configuration. We have integration between SAP and Taxolite application with the standard SAP connector. So we're using this connector in order to download the data from SAP and load it into application database, so Taxolite database. And in Taxolite, we have data loading procedures, microservices, and all of this, it contains this logic that was established with our customs experts. And this logic transforms the data and loads it to Taxolite database, and the data is already transformed. And we can see the result of calculated origin in form of the table. And we have all the products with their calculated origin in one place. But if we want, for instance, to export some dedicated report on a given product, it is also possible, and we can export this kind of report in form of an Excel file. Okay, so that was in terms of the technical background of our solution. Now, maybe once again about the process, but from the more business perspective. So in order to calculate the origin, we need to have all the elements, all the data sources that were previously explained by Marcin. So in Taxolite, we need to have a list of products and components that the company uses, a list of its warehouses. We need to have supplier declarations, and now, in terms of some more standard data, we need to have the trade agreements, exchange rate database, and rules of origin. So when we have all these elements, all these data sources in Taxolite, then we are able to automatically calculate the product's origin. And then we have a result in a form of a table or in form of an additional Excel file. And all of this is happening automatically. So without any intervention from the user side. So we can, on regular basis, on daily basis even, load the data into the application and calculate the origin of the product on daily basis. So as you mentioned earlier, right? So some companies calculate this kind of things like once per year, right? But thanks to this solution, we are able to have the result of the calculated origin on a daily basis. So the user can just log into the application whenever he wants, and just check whether there is a change, for instance, in the origin calculation. So and the solution updates the data on daily basis.
Okay, thank you, Anya. If I may just summarize
Yes.
some of the key points that I've heard from what you said. I think, which was the two very important things you said at the beginning, was that this tool has been built by customs experts, SAP experts, IT experts. So that is a team. And built is the right time of it as the tool is ready. This is very important to say. We are not discussing an idea that PwC has or something that we are working on. The tool is actually ready to be installed. Now, where it may be installed, it is the easiest for us to install this for companies who have SAP.
Yes.
But it's not necessary. If you're using Oracle or other ERP system, that's fine. We can adjust our tool. Further on, you have heard the name of Taxolite. That is a PwC tool. Again, there are many companies in Poland who have already installed Taxolite for tax reporting purposes. Again, it is easier for us to install with those clients who already have Taxolite. So if you have SAP and Taxolite, we can install immediately. If you don't have either of those, that's fine, because we can adjust the tool to be installed in your applications.
Yes, yes, exactly. So if we have another ERP system other than SAP, then we need to make the adjustments only in terms of the integration between the data source and Taxolite.
Okay. So anyhow, even if a company does not have a Taxolite instance, part of our installation and implementation of Customs Origin Tracker will be implementation of Taxolite. So we'll bring actually additional tax benefits in this.
Yes, of course. So if some clients have already Taxolite, then it's just installation of an additional module. But if we don't have Taxolite yet, then okay, for customs, great, and maybe also for other purposes like tax reporting and SAFT generation.
Okay, so and the last thing we've just discussed, because maybe I understood a little bit less from the technical slide. Now I understand more from the from this business process. I understand that the conclusion is, and this was our idea from the very beginning, to make this user friendly and to make this an automated tool. So actually doing the calculations, we don't recommend doing this once per year. Once per month is fine. We can actually do this every morning.
Yes, exactly.
Because the currency rates may be changing, the bill of material may be changing, the suppliers, individual cost of parts, individual shipments, invoices, they can contain different prices or different currency exchange. So that can actually affect this calculation. So we can calculate this on a daily basis. So me being a user, I can come to my office every morning, just start the tool, and I can see the Excel file results with calculations for all my products.
Exactly.
So I can have coffee for the rest of the day. I don't have to do the calculations.
Exactly. So
Good.
yeah, because the tool will do it for you, right? And it will do it on daily basis if that's the recommendation, right?
I remember because we have presented this tool individually to a few clients already in the recent weeks, and I will quote you one comment which we got because because it's honest, it was very spontaneous on the video call with the client. We presented this and we said, well, we are calculating this every day, every morning. You get all of the reports, and based on this and many other aspects which we discussed, the client said, wow, you've built a Mercedes. I believe this is a compliment to the team who has built and developed and made all of the functions. We will go through the detailed functions in a moment on further slides.
Yeah,
so there are 5 modules to be presented.
There are 5 modules. Yes,
Okay.
I just want to say that well, that was a very nice compliment, right,
Yes.
for all of us. But before we get to the modules, I'd like to say a few things about how we can address the challenges that you mentioned before, right? In terms of customs origin calculation. So the first thing is the documentation, right? So when we have a mess in our documentation, and then it is very difficult to prepare the documentation, for instance, for the audit, right? But when we have our solution, then all the documentation is stored in one place and it is in order. So we have all the documents from our customers, right, from our vendors, and all the declarations, all the
calculations, the reports
yes,
as well.
exactly. So everything that is behind the calculation is stored in the solution. Second thing, right? Regulations. This is something very important that when there will be an update of the regulations, we will adjust the tool, right? We will adjust our solution. So this is again something that is inside the solution itself. Calculation. When we have the data, when we have the rules, then we calculate the origin, and it is not a manual calculation. So the risk of error is, I would say, minimized, right? Ideally to 0, right? And because the tool does everything for us, then it has an impact on minimizing the working time of our employees, right? Because they do not have to do all the calculations, they do not have to gather the documentation once again, right? And order it, right? So everything is in order and everything is calculated automatically by the tool.
I think the idea that we had initially when we started these works many months ago, and some ideas which we came up with during the building and designing the tool, was to actually address all of these aspects.
Yes.
On number of years that we have had as customs team with our clients, we have seen various troubles and complaints from clients. What are their problems individually with origin? Some companies have this stress of not knowing exactly how the regulation sounds and how to read them and how to calculate this. What are the benefits? What are the options on the table that they can use to change the result of calculations if there was no preferential origin and they really tried to make it preferential? Then what are the legal solutions that they can use to make this happen, to make this preferential, have these benefits? So there is this aspect of knowledge, the aspect of gathering all the evidence, the aspect of storing it in an organized way. I remember an audit that one of our clients have had when they received an inquiry from the Tax and Customs Office to verify 123 Euro 1 declarations from 3 different countries of shipment. And the client called PwC, come and help us because we have these documents and we have calculated that, but we have no idea where that is. It was a mess. So imagine it took us as PwC 3 months actually to recollect all of the evidence that was in system, in various archives, put it all together, do the calculations, and communicate with the authorities to respond in an organized, proper manner and have these Euro 1s defended. Otherwise, those negative consequences as payment of duties and interest and so on and other risks. So a number of problems that the clients were telling us about. We wanted this tool to answer and address all of those, to put everything together. But for that reason, because not all the companies have exactly the same problems and the same ambitions, let's say, we have built the tool comprising of 5 modules, so you don't have to install all 5 of them. So let's go, I believe, through these modules.
Let's get to the models then. Okay. So the first module of our application is the calculator. So this is the beating heart of our solution, and the calculator is always precise. It is efficient. It is accurate. So it automatically calculate the origin. So this is something that this module is obligatory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
The second module is the communicator. So one thing is that it integrates with the system. With the source data, so for instance with the SAP system, but also with other ERP systems. It allows you also to verify suppliers, to verify prices, and one aspect I think that you mentioned as this communicator, which it cannot be found here. Maybe you would like to share this one.
The point is that the communicator is not only communicating between the ERP, let's say SAP system, and the customs origin tracker built on Taxolite. So it's not just the technical communication or the communication with the user by providing reports. It's also the communication with external world, for instance, with your suppliers. One of the evidence which companies store, and that's a lot of paperwork, that's long-term supplier declarations. And these can be issued for 1 year advance or 2 years advance. That's a lot of paperwork actually to be stored if you have a lot of suppliers, a lot of parts and components. And those actually, of course, expire. I have seen cases where they have been issued only for 3 months, or 6 months, or 12 months, or 18. It's up to the supplier for how long they will issue. The tool is storing all of those declarations by supplier and listing the goods and considering the validation of the long-term supplier declaration. So one of the, I believe, great ideas that we have inside this tool is that this tool will automatically send an email. If you provide an email address to the supplier, the tool will automatically send an email of standard text in the email saying more or less, dear supplier, the long-term supplier declaration which you have provided to us previously is about to expire in 3 months' time. And we have 3 months to get a new one. So here is the scan of the previous one which you have provided to us. And here is a standard format of editable file where you should input if there are any changes, update the dates, and send it to us within the 3 months so that we continuously can benefit and claim preferential origin for everything that we produce and export. So each of the modules which we will be presenting, they include such smart solutions, smart ideas that actually should help in daily life for companies to have these benefits with minimal effort from the users.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I just want to comment this thing because um, all the functionalities that we have in our solution, they come from the needs of our clients, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because, well, our, yeah.
Yeah, this was not my idea. I woke up one day and said, "Oh, that would be great to send emails." No, it's not. Actually, it was a need that we have identified during projects with our clients. Okay, there is a problem with getting LTSDs on
Yeah.
time. Well, let's fix this by having automated mail.
Yeah. So getting back to our modules. Okay, so we have another module. This is a database module. And here we have all the regulations. And we also have here the database of our exchange rates, right? This declarations, and of course, data from our ERP system. So yeah, everything in one place. Archives. So and our tool keeps the certificates of origin. So everything that was calculated in our tool and has its background documentation, all of this is stored in customs origin tracker. And the last module, this is the knowledge module. And again, I'd like you to
Pass to me.
explain.
Okay,
Yes.
it's fine. So this is also another idea because
Yeah.
a number of projects which we do around the origin of goods. Very often we meet clients who say, "I would love to benefit from that and raise my business thanks to preferential origin, but I don't know how to do that." The staff which I have employed in the tax department or logistics department or even customs department, they may not know everything around the origin. So how can we improve this knowledge? So our idea is to put everything, like we said before, put everything in this tool. So there is a knowledge module as well, which would include, for instance, 2 video trainings. One is the basics of the origin of goods. The second one is for more experienced users. It will have a repository of legal acts, which means that there are no PDF files. It's rather links directly to appropriate institutions. In most cases, this is European Commission, where the latest version of each, especially free trade agreements, is stored so that whenever you need to check something, you are considering, can I change the calculations? How can I influence the calculation and improve the status from non-preferential to preferential? How can I do that? What are the limitations? What the regulation is saying? There are very often individual questions, whether when I'm exporting to Switzerland, whether the rules are the same for Tunisia, let's say, or Israel or Egypt or Japan. So are the rules the same or not? The tool can answer that in the calculations, but you can also check this by getting into individual acts. So in order to make it easier for you, the knowledge about these acts and direct access to the latest version is already inside the tool as well. The procedures as recommended standard by PwC are also in this module. But if you have your own company procedures and processes described in files, you can upload this as well, so that all the users with access to customs origin tracker can actually enter there and see, okay, I have a procedure in my company for import of components to assure preferential status and minimize the duty rates on import in a safe, appropriate way. Then, okay, we have a procedure. Well, the procedure is also in that tool. So that makes the customs origin tracker the single instance which you need for all these various potential problems and advantages, challenges, and opportunities, which you can have with the origin of goods, everything stored in those 5 modules. And commenting further, there are 5 modules because we also understand that not all companies want everything. So the 2 modules, the first one which we've mentioned, so the calculator, because that's of course that's the point of the tool, to calculate the origin.
Right.
And secondly, to calculate automatically, which means that we need all the information that is in your SAP system. So we need the communicator. So the calculator and communicator, that's the 2 modules in the tool which are mandatory. The other 3, this is not mandatory.
Yeah.
But I believe it's.
But it's recommended.
It is recommended. I mean, I believe it's really great, and they comprise with many smart solutions and ideas that could help you in your daily life. Just maximize the benefits of preferential origin, use the 0% rate as much as possible in import and export, just focus on growing the business.
Yes, exactly. So now we can, in consequence, get to a summary, I think, because, right. So we talked about the challenges, right? And how we can address these challenges by implementing our customs origin tracker. So as you can see, first of all, thanks to this automatically calculated origin on daily basis, we can have a improved cooperation of our suppliers and customers, especially in terms of this communication with regard to the declarations. We have time savings, right? So because everything is done by the tool, we do not have to spend time to calculate, gather the data, anything that is related to the process of calculation. The risk of error, this is something that is minimized because this is not a manual work. It is done automatically by a calculator that is precise. We getting back to the thing about the minimizing user costs, right? Because if the tool is working by itself, then the user do not have to do anything. Then enabling more business to the to be pursued. So that is what you said, right?
Yes.
So if we can not stick to the manual work and something is done for us automatically by some tool, then we can concentrate on other things, and we can get our company, our business to grow.
Yes, that's right. Because I'm a customs expert, there's many occasions where I meet with clients, when I meet with top management, and very often I hear from tax director, CFO, and other people, I don't know about customs, and I don't want to know about customs. Well, that's what the tool is for. It is meant that you don't have to learn customs, you don't have to do the certain aspect of customs operations. We said about those 3 pillars at the beginning. So the origin, that should be addressed in a complex way through the tool. The aim is to help you to maximize the benefits in a safe way, minimize your effort, minimize human errors. That's the purpose. That was our idea behind it. And that's the reason why we recommend all the 5 modules.
Yes, exactly. All right. I think we are getting to the end,
We're
actually.
getting to the end because the time is also running out.
Yes, exactly.
So we've left the Q&A session, but I'm looking at the timing, and it's very difficult for us to answer the questions that are popping up. So I think what we can do, we will get back to you individually to those, because also these questions that I see are rather specific, referring specifically to certain agreements or aspects or calculations. So let us get back to you individually, to those people who provided contacts and telephone numbers and emails. We will get back to you individually to comment on your questions. And what we will do for the next 2 minutes, I think we should just wrap up and summarize what we just said.
That's a good idea, yes.
Yes. So first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining the webinar. Thank you for listening to the two of us. I think the big congratulations goes to the team that has built the tool. That was many months of work, really. And I hope that during the webinar, during the first part where we explained the legal aspects and regulations around the origin of goods, but also the business aspect of the benefits, how much money you can save thanks to export or import of goods with using the preference. And considering how many countries are in the scope, I think that's a huge benefit. Now, of course, the first what we want to say, please use the preferential origin as much as you can. And that still can be done in the traditional way through Excel files and paperwork.
Exactly.
That's
With or
fine.
without the tool. Yeah.
With or without the tool.
Yeah.
That's the basic conclusion. But if your operation is mature and large and complex, and you don't have time, you want to maximize the effort, minimize the risk, well, there is a tool.
Yeah, there is a tool, and it may make the process more efficient, right? And without a high risk of mistakes. So, and it's ready. As we already mentioned a couple of times, we just want to say one more time, right? The tool is ready to be installed. So if you are interested, if you want to see this in more detailed way, the presentation, the demo, it is, yeah, we are at your disposal. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the meeting today. We will be coming back to you individually. And yes, here are the contacts. That's actually correct address, emails, and correct telephone numbers. So you can really reach us directly as well. And yes, we're waiting for your further questions. So thank you for today. Thank you, Anya.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Martin, very much. Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.